In 1997, a company named Rare for the Nintendo 64, the big, gray, ugly piece of trash, would release a game that would change everything in the world of console first-person shooters, with the leading man, James Bond. And that game was Goldeneye 007. Yeah, roll the title, baby. Boom! The nostalgia bones are flowing right down to your nether regions right now. Starring James Bond, you pick yourself a file folder and you dive deep into the confidential world of this secret agent. And I know what you're thinking. Wow, this game was so great. Now it's not, though. It isn't. It was at the time. This game is a true testament of games of that time period, and as for it being innovative, I will give it that. It is a wonderfully innovative game for a game console where the controller only had one joystick. That's why I don't play a lot of PS1 games. Why would I play a video game where there weren't any joysticks? I'm sorry. I feel like we have come from this past to a much brighter future. But I have to also tip my hat to this game, shake its little wiener, and say, listen, man, you did a good job. You innovated in a genre that I hold near and dear to my heart. But I do not enjoy playing you that much. And it's not that I don't enjoy playing it at all. I remember as a kid playing Goldeneye against my some friends because I never had an N64, so I don't have the nostalgia that a lot of people hold in their hearts for this game. This game was always something that I'd go over to a friend's house and they didn't have a PS2 or an Xbox yet, and they had the N64, and we'd run some of the multiplayer, and the whole time I would be thinking, wow, it'd be so much better if I was playing 007 Nightfire, the far superior game in almost every single way. This game really suffers from, like I said, being old. It's the same problem I have with Time Splitters 2. I have never even tried Time Splitters 1, but I bought Time Splitters 2 for the cheap price of like $1 something on the Xbox store. Was really excited because I thought, wow, I'm going to play a first-person shooter everyone creams in their socks for, you know what I mean? I mean, such a big load that it goes from way up in your hip all the way down your legs into your socks and fills them so your socks become a crunchy, like, stiff boards inside your shoes, so whenever you walk, you're walking like a clown. And that's how people talk about Time Splitters 2 and Perfect Dark in the same vein. And for me, every time I try to go back to this era without the nostalgia, like burning through the souls and the embers of the fires beneath our buttholes, I can't feel it. I don't feel the excitement. And most of it comes down to this aiming you're seeing right here. I hate the zoom in aiming on these games. And it's not that I'm like, it's because there's no ADS. I mean, ADS would have helped aim down sights for you plebs out there, you below brain level thinkers. I'm just kidding. You might not know video game lingo, which means you probably have more of a life than I do. But the ADSing would have helped, yes, and it hadn't really come to fruition yet in the gaming industry. My main problem was the freeze-in-place hovering reticle aiming. I felt like it's super complicated to jump back into today. It's so different and so out of place. Now, a game like Doom or a game like Duke Nukem, where you're hip firing, doesn't have this same problem in today's market, where you can go back to that. It feels old, but it still feels doable. It feels fluid. This game, that aiming in this game pulls you out of it. It slows the whole experience down to an absolute crawl, a slodge through the experience, as one might say, if they had like brain aneurysms every 2 seconds, like I feel like I do whenever I speak about these games. I mean, and it sucks because the 3D animation in this game I absolutely love. I think it's hilarious. It's clunky. It's beautiful. I want to enjoy it. but the mechanics of the game itself will always hold me back from being a Goldeneye absolutist, because that's what you hear. Oh, there's never been a James Bond game as good as Goldeneye, and I have to put the kibosh on that, look you dead in the eye and say, go play Nightfire and have a good time. That game plays a lot better and is a lot more fun. And because of this game's age and how it was trying to innovate for the time, I have to look at it and say, wow, it is legendary what they were able to do at that time period, especially coming from a development studio that wasn't known for first-person shooters, that wasn't their bag, man. And the fact that they went on to make Perfect Dark, another series that is heralded as one of the best to ever do it. It's kind of sad that I can't love these games. I can't go into them full raging erection thinking this is my childhood because I didn't experience it. To be honest, I think the multiplayer was always the best part of this game to begin with. I thought the campaign was okay, but it became kind of a slog through like animal and human feces to try to figure out what you were supposed to do. Like every first-person shooter of the time, that is not just an isolated issue with this game, and I was a child, keep that in mind. The fact that I'd have to restart a level because one thing would go wrong and I wouldn't figure out one part used to infuriate me. I was like, why can't I just kill my way through the level like a goddamn champion? Thank you, Halo, for really helping me figure that out. Because that is what I grew up on, was Halo. Halo was my cup of tea. The older Call of Duties. I remember on the original Xbox playing the old Call of Duties. That was my bag. So when I'd go back to these older games like Doom and this, I had a real issue with navigating through these levels. And this is much more straightforward than Doom, but it has little things. Like, one of my big problems in the first level of this is using the coder thing. I blew up all the terminals thinking, that did it, and then I jumped off the bridge, only for it to tell me I was a failure and I sucked. And, it's one of those things that it comes with the territory with old school gaming, right? Getting lost is part of the charm. And if you don't have that excitement and that nostalgia to push you through that charm, I can see how this game would not hold up. This is one of those games that if I'm sitting playing it and I have like my nephew or when I have a child one day, they're going to be watching it and being like, what is this garbage you're playing? And a part of me is going to want to argue that it is not garbage, but another part of me in the back recesses of my mind is going to think back to my childhood where my parents were like, yo, we were so good at asteroids and Snake, and I'm like, those are barely even games. So for me, looking back at that time period, I have to respect that, yes, there's a huge audience for this game in the older generation of gamers, but that doesn't mean that the younger generation will like this game. Maybe some people will find it as a niche, go back, and when they're doing like the history of FPS games, they're going to want to play this, but for the most part, because of this game's mechanics, I feel like this, Time Splitters, and Perfect Dark are going to be a game that is skipped over all the time, and I have no problem with that. I'm not going to ever be the guy that says, what, you haven't played Goldeneye? Are you even a gamer? Because I understand the fact that of the matter being, this game with its goofy-ass mechanics is not as fluid and as universally playable as a game like Doom that was ported to everything in its mother. This game has a charm and has its faults in its same regard, if you know what I mean. I feel like I keep getting lost in that aspect. And this game had a fun story, had a fun vibe, had incredibly cool guns, great sound effects, some of the best music to ever be put into a James Bond video game. Yet, I cannot find myself finishing the game. Yeah, hell, I can't even find myself really getting to the second level because I don't have anything pushing me that direction, have anything driving that focus, and yet I still want to push myself through out of respect for the game. And at a certain point, I have to look deep into my soul, look myself in the mirror, and see the monster that I am, and think, this game is not for you. And I hope that anybody who watches this doesn't think, wow, he just hates anything that's old, because I don't. I will play Doom over and over again. Doom 2 over and over again. Duke Nukem 3D. Those games I really like, but when it comes to this era of shooters, it is my least favorite era. And I know that there were some PC shooters that were still doing the build engine type stuff around the same time, but for me, this side niche is my least favorite era. It's something that I do not like. I don't, and the whole problem isn't the hip firing, because that's where I'm excelling. It's that one reticle. I hate it so much that I'm so glad that it is not a thing anymore. The fact that it bogs down the gameplay experience, that you never can get it actually located on the enemy you want to get it on, and it just boils my goddamn balls in a metric ton of acid, and the fury of the gods pours out of my mind into this game, and I just start getting angry and hating it, and I want to just come on here and tell you how it's an overhyped, overloved piece of trash that should have died in obscurity in a hole, and people should have just buried it alongside E.T. That is my mindset whenever I'm using that stupid red reticle. Same thing happens with Time Splitters 2. Same thing happens for me when I play Perfect Dark, up until Perfect Dark 0, because Perfect Dark 0 finally figured out how to aim great, and great, the chef's kiss. Even though I haven't really finished that game, I just have been, that's one of those I go back to every once in a while. And for me, I feel that way kind of almost about pretty much every single game that come out on the N64. I was not an N64 guy. It was not for me. Mario Kart was probably the best game to drop on that machine, and I think we all can agree on that. Mario Kart made the N64 slightly worth it, but the GameCube excelled and was better than the N64 could have ever dreamed of being. The GameCube excelled where the N64 fell flat, but Nintendo didn't use like logic and reasoning, and thought, let's make these proprietary small discs that nobody wants to develop games for. And so the GameCube was an absolute failure, when I believe that it was one of the best consoles that Nintendo has ever released up until the Switch. I think the Switch beats it just in terms of variety and convenience. I think the Switch wins, but anything before the 60 or the GameCube, I'm sleeping on. Anything up until the Switch through the Wii and the Wii U, I hate the Wii. I think the Wii was a garbage piece of machinery that I will always hate. Motion controls should have died the moment they were created. And you're gonna probably clip this, and when I become famous enough and be like, whoa, King Jiffy Coats hates motion controls. That's right, clip that. They're garbage. They're stupid. The only fun game on the Wii was Sonic and Mario at the Olympic Games. I will say that was kind of fun for a gimmicky afternoon with some friends, but the rest of the Wii deserved to be, like, absolutely beaten with a sledgehammer until it bled, begging for its life, looking at you with soft puppy dog eyes, saying, please, please, sir, do not hurt me this way. And I look down at it and say, I cannot fulfill that wish, and then murder it. That's how I feel about the Wii. With Goldeneye, I'm a little bit nicer. I'll sneak up behind it and say, think about the rabbit's Lenny, and then cap it in the back of the head. So that's pretty much my review on Goldeneye. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you've had some minuscule amount of fun listening to my kind of hate of this game, but also respect for it at the same time. It's one of those fine lines that people hate on the internet, where you can dislike something but still admire its greatness, and that's how I feel about Goldeneye. Thank you guys so much. Like my video, comment, you goddamn idiots, I love you, and subscribe to my channel. Catch you later.